What up, guys? Welcome to Base Damage. Welcome back. We are bringing to you another Trial by Fire, and this one is off of, as the title says, the Bang Dream Rosalia Trial Deck Plus. It's mono blue, so it's really easy to work with as far as, especially for new people. But I've been really excited about this set in general, as far as like the new Bang Dream set. But this Trial Deck Plus in particular, because I really liked how it was set up. And I didn't realize just how much I would get to mess around with this. I've actually gone kind of ham as far as like building a whole bunch of Bang Dream stuff in general. But especially with this one, I feel that this is a very, very good Trial Deck Plus for anyone who does want to get into this set, anyone who wants to mess around with as far as my usual shenanigans of grabbing two Trial Deck Pluses and smushing them together. So this one is mono blue. To get right into this, I watched a video, another deck profile that was done by Peshcats, and as far as his take on the Rosalia deck, that does involve the crazy level 3 Yukina that does like the 2 instances of burn and whatnot. That was his deck build. So obviously this deck doesn't have this. But I did use that. I did look through that video and decided to use a concept from it. One particular card that he ran a playset of that comes in this trial deck that I wanted to base the deck around. And I'm going to go ahead and start off talking about that card. And that is the event that comes in with the deck, which is called Phone Shy. And he basically is a particular setup for this card that is very good. And I'm just going to read it off exactly how it says. It's a 1/1 backup event, and this basically lets you do one of 3 things. Basically, first off, you can't play it if the number of other music characters you have is 1 or less. So you have to have 2 or more music characters to be able to play it, and you're good. You choose one of the following effects and perform it. The effects are: choose one of your opponent's characters. That character gets -1 soul till end of turn. Choose one of your characters in battle, and that character gets 3,000 power until end of turn. That's a really, really good backup at that point. For 1 stock, 3,000 is amazing. Personal opinion. At level 1, which is kind of crazy. And then the last effect is search your deck for up to 1 music character, reveal it to your opponent, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So when you activate this card, you get to pick one of those 3 effects, either the negative soul, the 3k buff, or searching. But the really awesome effect is the Rosalia band is based off each of the bands are based off of 5 characters, and this card has the added effect of if you have one of each of the girls from the band on the field when you use this effect. So if you have all 5 on the field, the effect that you pick from those 3 you get to do twice. And I thought that was just really, really cool and really, really fun to be able to work around. So imagine essentially being able to go kind of a compass effect almost, to be able to go, I have all 5 characters, give your character -2 soul, or I have all 5 characters, give my character a 6,000 attack buff for 1 stock, which is insane. Or the best part of it, in my personal opinion, because you get to compress a whole bunch, is search for 2 music characters and add them to your hand. That essentially works out being better than a Zekken Yuki, in my personal opinion. Now, it has the utility of being able to be used on your main phase. If you wanted to, if you like, oh, I need to grab the level 1 Yukina to do the combo, boom, grab a copy. If you happen to have, already have a full field, do that if you want to, or do it on your opponent's turn if you're about to refresh and you want to have more options in the deck, whatever. So I wanted to base my setup around this card, primarily. Obviously, trying to make it as, what I feel as efficient as I can, but while still working around this card and the 1 climax combo that it has. But let's go back to the beginning at the level 0s and then continue from that. But I wanted to state at the very beginning, the deck setup has that in mind. And I'll point out a couple of those particular things and reasons for my choices because of that. So, starting off at the very beginning here, we have 4 copies of Firm Resolution Sayo Hikawa. First off, she is a reverser. When she becomes reversed in battle by a level 0 or lower opponent, you can put that character on the bottom of your opponent's deck, which I think is really good. So unless they have like a whole bunch of search effects or whatever, you can almost guarantee that some characters may be on the bottom of your opponent's deck by the time they're about to refresh, and you may be able to guarantee some damage. And at the beginning of your Encore step, if you do not have any other rested characters on your center stage, you can pay 1 stock to rest her. So, especially if you only have just 1 copy of her out, they run over it. She does her effect at level 0, maybe. And at the beginning of the Encore step, especially if she's just by herself and she's reversed, you can pay 1 stock to bring her back. It's not as efficient as a runner, in my opinion, especially because you do have to expend stock, but it is very nice to be able to have this in the deck as a character that will just stay on the field. More than likely, unless they have some kind of removal, this will more than likely stay on the field because it's only 500 attack, which is kind of crazy. So I felt this was a mandatory 4 of. Next is Angel's Smile Ako Utagawa. This is another mandatory 4 of for the deck construction purpose around that event. Mostly because this is the only Ako that you're really going to want to try to run. There's a level 1 Ako in the trial deck, but I didn't want to really use that. I wanted to try this particular setup with this first. Angel Smile Ako Utagawa, her first effect is your other music character in the middle position of the center stage gets 500 power, and an Encore where you only had to discard a blue card to Encore back that character. The entire deck is blue, but that means you can also pitch extra climaxes for it, which I thought was really cool. And then she has a Brainstorm, a pay 1, rest her, mill 4, for every climax, draw up to 1 card. So that's really good, and one, really good to have a Brainstormer, obviously, but because this is really, you want to have this back row. You want to be able to always have this at some point in the game, and you're going to want to have this on field and have it as your back row card, but it's your only Ako that I feel was really necessary. So as long as you know that you have this, it's going to you're going to have this on the field to fulfill your condition for the doubling up on the event. So next is I Don't Like Crowds, Rinko Shirokane. I found this one to be really useful against one particular player this past Sunday. I thought that was real against my buddy Moroku, because he was trying out the anti-spiral Mugan deck that has nothing but it has a one particular level 0 that you can run a whole bunch of copies of, and it has a reverser effect. Actually, I think it's the same exact reverser effect as the Sayo right here. But she's good because she's a 0-2K. When she attacks, choose one of your music characters, and that character gets +1 level and 1,000 power. So she counted herself as a level 1 if she swung and was able to get over those reversers. So I felt this is really good as far as being able to have some kind of having enough cards to be able to try to get over crazy shenanigans that your opponent might have. If they have card reversers and whatnot, this gets over them. It's also just really useful if I did end up having to use her a couple times at level 1 to try to make certain that my level 1s got over stuff, just because some characters got big. Anyway, next is 4 copies of On Stage Rinko Shirokane. This is another one of those that you can keep back row a whole bunch. As far as your setup for your field for the event, she's a 0-0-2K. Her only ability is an act where you rest her, choose one of your music characters, and that character gets 1,500 power until end of turn. So if you have like a copy of her back row and a copy of the Ako back row, you're set up for your combos. So 4 copies of her I felt was necessary. And then the last 3 to round out the level 0s is 2 copies of Mood Maker Lisa Imai. She's a 0-0-35 with her drawback being she can't side attack, which I feel is very minimal and perfectly fine. Big beat stick and just really useful. Also, it's just the fact, if you absolutely need to pull off the doubling effect, she's really good to have at level 1. Because of how big she already is, you can use stuff like the Rinko to end up making her like a 5k. So that way she's at least like vanilla stats if you wanted to try to get over maybe some weak little level 1s or whatever. especially using that for having the Lisa name on the field for the event. So just kind of threw in 2 copies, and she's working out pretty good so far. So then we get to the level 1s. First off, we get the climax combo of the deck, of the Trial Deck Plus in general. Crystal Song Yukina Minato. Also, shoutouts to Moroku because he pulled an SP of this girl. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so 4 copies of her, obviously. She's a 105K. When you have the 1K1 book trigger in play, when she attacks, you can... as long as you have another blue character, which you're going to, the entire fucking deck is blue, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 1 music character from amongst them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. She doesn't have to reverse for this. Let me go ahead and point that out. That's like the biggest reason this is actually a really, really awesome trial deck plussing engine. The fact that this could be your main plussing engine for any setup that you want to do for the set. Like, there's another level 1 Lisa that has as far as from the set, that has a climax combo to, on reverse, be able to search your deck for a music character. That's still really good, but the fact of it having to reverse, and AOT is a thing, this doesn't have to reverse. It doesn't care. It just says when this attacks. You can side with this. You can side attack with this and still get this combo off. That's amazing. And at level 1, because this is a climax combo, you're going to have 2 soul. Even if you just go like a -1 on your for a soul penalty, it's not hurting you that much. You may trigger. You may end up still doing damage. That's the cool thing. But you get your combo off regardless, which I thought was the really cool part of it. So next is 2 copies of On Stage Sayo Hidekawa. Once again, I put this in, even though it's a vanilla 55. I put her in for the name, 2 copies of her just to be able to mess around with. Initially, I was running 4 copies of this next one, but I took out 2 for the Sayo. Then there was this one, the On Stage Lisa Imai. She's a 116K with a Taige-esque effect of she gets 500 power for each of your other music characters. So for 1 stock, and you have a full field, you could have a level 1 8,000. So that's really good, but I felt that she was a bit too much as far as trying to maintain stock, especially if you want to use the level 1 event. That does require expending some stock, making certain that you have enough stock and whatnot. Between using the event, between summoning this, between the Brainstormer as well, there's quite a few effects you can potentially use your stock for, and you want to make certain that you have enough. So I felt that she was perfectly fine to bring back down to 2, and it worked out in the long run. So next, getting us to the level 2s, we have 2 copies of All That I Hear Rinko Shirokane. It's a 2/1 2500, and she's a level assist. Is her main thing is for the characters in front of her get 500 times their level in a power boost. And she has an act ability where you can rest her to draw a card and then discard 1 card. So being able to hand filter like that's really cool, especially at the late game if you want to do a setup for this level 3 combo is really cool. But 2 copies of her, and basically by the time level 2 comes around, if you want to get rid of this Rinko being back row, you can still use her, but you can also drop this and have this and the Akko Brainstormer in your back row for your names. Then there was 4 copies of this Sayo. I was initially only doing 3, but I bumped it up to 4. It just feels better. 2/1 7K. When your other music character attacks, she gets 1500 power until the end of turn. So 2 other characters attack, she gets plus 3000. So a 10K level 2 is really good. Once again, also for the Sayo, having the Sayo name is just really good. And I'll explain also basically kind of a setup you probably want to be able to have at level 3. Also, she has the same ability that the level 0 Akko Brainstormer gives your middle center. She has the blue Encore. Same effect as far as you can just discard a blue card to Encore her, which I thought was just really good to be able to have for that. So that is it for your level 2s. Your level 3s, initially I was running 4 and 4. That was too excessive. I strongly feel that you have to have 4 of this Lisa, but you can easily get away with 2 of this Yukina. Or if you want to have a more even split personally when you're building this and you want to go 3 and 3, Do what you want. I'm doing this though. So first off is 2 copies of on-stage Yukina Minato. During your opponent's turn, if all of your characters are music, this gets 2,000 power. Really easy. The entire deck's music. You're not going to not get this, and so it's a really good defensive option. Couple this with the Rinko. She gets an additional 15. She's a 13-5 on your opponent's turn. That's really good defense. So then, when this is placed on stage from your hand, you may pay the cost, which is 1 stock. If you do, choose a card named Trace of Effort, Lisa, in your waiting room and put it on any position of your stage. So for 1 stock, you can summon this from the waiting room, straight up. So that's one of the things I was talking about. If you use this Rinko, draw a card. And when you have to discard the card, you can discard this Lisa. So that way, she's in the waiting room, especially if you're like just after a refresh and you have enough of these in hand or whatever. It works out that way. So then you can freely summon her. So 2 copies of the Yukina, 4 copies of this Trace of Effort Lisa in Mai. When she's placed on stage from your hand or by the effect of the Yukina, you can put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. So you get to heal 1. Really good. Also, when this attacks, choose one of your other music characters. So other, you can't choose yourself. Sad, but it's all good. And that character gets X power until end of turn. X is equal to 500 multiplied by the number of your other music characters that you have. So it's like a Shimakaze Kai from Kantai. Basically, if you have a full field and you swing, give one of your other characters 2,000 power. So you can get some pretty big numbers on some of your other characters really easy. Especially if you do have like the Sayo, being able to get her even bigger is really cool. So 4 copies of her. We already went over the event and the setup around that, which I'm going to point out. Basically, kind of a neat little. I'll go ahead and do that right now. So, like how I said, you could easily have either this level 2 Rinko or this level 0 Rinko in the back row for one of your names. You have the Akko so that you can set up your names for the doubling effect on the event. And then by like level, your end game between like level 2. For level 2, you're probably going to want to have like this Yukina, this Lisa, and 1 copy of the Sayo on the field. Like you like to be able to do multiple copies of this Yukina for the climax combo if you can. Especially if you don't have the event in hand, by all means, go for it. But if you do have the event in hand and you want to set this up, that may be the ideal thing that you want to do. By the end game, if you have multiple copies of this event in hand, it would be really good, my personal opinion, to have 1 copy of the Lisa, 1 copy of the Yukina, and 1 copy of this Sayo. She's going to be big enough defensively, you really don't need to worry about it too much. You may have more copies of the Lisa in hand, especially if you end up using the phone event, and you do like, oh, I'm going to search for 2 characters. You can easily get another copy of each of these if you absolutely need it. But the other thing is the Sayo having the Encore, you can easily bring her back, no problem. The Akko is going to give a character blue Encore anyway, so you don't really have to worry about it that much. So really you just need to, because you can save her, one of these will be your middle center, probably this Lisa, and if this is like big anyway, you probably don't have to worry about it dying at all. So you'll be able to maintain a field pretty easily, my personal opinion, and then be able to just keep using the doubling effect every single time you draw one of these phones. So that's my outlook on it and what I've been able to do with it. Then, of course, you have 4 copies of the Zeet, which is a 1k1 book trigger, so you get to draw. And then 4 copies of First Live Show Pre-Party, which is a 1k1 pants trigger. So I felt this was necessary to have in here because if you trigger it, you can get back the Zeets to be able to do more of Zeet. It's German sounding. You could get, so is Weiss Schwarz, now that you think about it, Billy. You can get back copies of this to be able to do the Yukina combo over and over and over. I also like the Yukina combo to be able to mill through the deck quicker is really, really useful, especially if you've seen a whole bunch of climaxes already. Go ahead and just burn through the entire deck with, like the Brainstormer and 2 Yukinas. You dig through like 12 cards, 2 attacks at that point. Minimum of like 14 cards you're going to go through if you use like that, 2 of those in like the Brainstormer or whatever. But I definitely like this deck. It does feel a little weird not having as big of like a flashy finisher as like the Gurren Lagann deck does, because of the fusion. The combined Gurren Lagann is just a crazy set up and being able to do the burning is really awesome. This is still really good, and I do like this deck. The fact that you have so many cards, if you do want to go for the Yukina setup with the level 3 from the pack, this deck by far is just so much good setup. Now, it does sadden me that in the booster set, there's so many of the good cards that work off of Resonate. I don't have a problem with the Resonate ability at all, because Resonate's actually a really cool effect. I wish they kind of did it a little bit more. The problem is all of the Resonate effects work off that level 3 Yukina, and it's a $50 card at this point. You know, to each their own. I have no problem with this, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. Not everybody's going to be able to just immediately pick up a playset of that. And it just kind of, it does push you in that direction of wanting to have that combo with all the different really, really good Resonate effects that there are. Like they're very powerful, good effects. It's just the fact that you have to have that level 3 Yukina if you want to pull off any of those effects whatsoever. Otherwise, I still very much enjoy this deck, and obviously I'm going to play the hell out of this set. I got so many ideas as far as like trying to stuff I'm trying to work on, decks I'm trying to work on, and I hope y'all enjoy this as well. Definitely. Thank you for stopping by, for checking out the video. Subscribe if you want. If not, hey, just, thanks for showing support for the game and, trying to look up stuff and trying to just being able to look into future stuff, future sets and whatnot. Just thank y'all for checking out the channel and stopping by. It's greatly appreciated. I'm going to sign off for now. I hope you like the deck profile and whatnot. I've been using this and it's really fun. It is a different play style than what I'm like used to because of how the Climax combo is set up, but I feel that I can work around it. And I have an interesting little setup that I'm working on for this deck by adding in cards from the set. Fun fact, it does not involve that level 3 Yukina. Just saying. But yes, thank you very much for stopping by. It was greatly appreciated. We will see y'all on the flip side. Peace out for now.